Welcome to One on One with Expert Flyer. This is your host, Lisa Caslin. The work from home trend started more than 20 years ago, but COVID seems to have taken what was a rare privilege and made it a norm among many organizations. Our guest today is Shaun Prime, and he's the CEO of Remote Year. And by combining travel and work, his company is helping to redefine the notion of telecommuting. Welcome, Shaun.
Hey, how are you?
Good, good. Thanks for stopping by today. We appreciate it.
We're very excited to be here. Very.
Good, good. So listen, for those of us that are not intimately familiar with remote work, tell us a little bit about what you do.
Amazing. Okay, so Remote Year is a community-based travel platform, and we built this platform specifically for remote workers. And I think it's kind of a good moment to think about what remote work is, because I think out there right now, there's a lot of versions. But what we mean by remote worker is someone that's truly able to travel and work remotely versus what you also have today, which is kind of the work from home and also the kind of latest trend about this hybrid working. So we really focus on people that have a job that allows them to be able to live, work somewhere abroad, and that's what our kind of product range delivers for.
Wow, that's exciting. So you're kind of I would imagine you're connecting and working with the employers on some level then, yes?
Well, that's kind of interesting. So today, I mean, Remote Year started in 2015, and I guess we could have said that back then when the two original co-founders, Greg and Sam, started the company, it was really a B2C kind of focus. And what's happened is over time, and especially now during this kind of the COVID times, this has opened up a huge amount of ability for employers, allowing their employees to go travel. So today we're still largely B2C. But with that in mind, we do also have a lot of contact with our customers' employers to help them navigate kind of what their questions might be to allow people to be able to join one of our programs. So this year we started working much more in earnest with B2B partners. And so far we've had some pretty good results about how those partners feel about it. I think, there's obviously a number of concerns that they have, but overall they recognize the value of this kind of transformative travel. So it's a big part of our future to work with the B2B partners.
Yeah, it's fascinating. So tell me why one would need, because this is something personally that I'm fascinated with and have been thinking about for quite some time. So I've been very excited to talk to you about it. But I guess I'm just wondering, why do we need you to help us do that? In other words, so let's say I'm fascinated with Medellin, Colombia. I want to just go live there. I work from home now. Why do I need you?
That's a great question. I've got a couple of answers for that. First of all, when I started the chat with you today, I talked about community. And one of the things that we really focused on is the community of the travelers. So if you were to do this yourself, which you can, and there's plenty of us in the world that will just book a ticket and head somewhere, but there's a lot of people that this isn't something really new for them. So we focus on building a program, and that program often has around 35 to 40 people. And they become an instant set of friends, people that you can have something in common with, those like-minded individuals that you're going to be able to arrive on day one in Medellin. And depending upon how long you're staying with us, let's say for a month, at the end of that, you're probably going to have a whole group of new friends. So community is the biggest part of what we do, and I'm happy to share more about that.
Yeah.
But the other angle that we have that I think is really important is we provide the complete ease of access. So if you make book a program with us, we provide your accommodation, we provide your co-working space. More importantly, we help you immerse in the local community. We have local teams, always from the place, that are so happy to share their city with you. But also that local team have curated experiences inside that city that are not just run-of-the-mill that you're going to find in a tour shop. These are curated experiences that they really want to show off where they are. And those experiences allow you much more time to bond with the community that you've got. And if you're just traveling with us for a month, which is one of our products, you can have a great experience. And if you're traveling over time, which is on a 4-month program or a 12-month program, which we call journeys, then those programs, we also manage your transportation between those cities.
Oh, that's
So
great.
really it's a simple, it's an ease of access. It's somebody that's always aware of kind of the safety. It understands logistics. It knows the city that you're going to be in, and it has people on the ground to support you, as well as the final thing I would say is the community manager, which is essentially your program leader. That's the person that's, always there alongside you, whether you're, again, a 1 month or you're in a journey with us, they're with you all the way. And they're really tuned into you as a person. And prior to you joining, we're going to ask you a lot of questions about what you want to get out of this. So we're going to try and make sure at every level you've got that support, but also push you towards the goals that you set too.
Very good. Okay. So this begs the question. I mean, it seems like you're doing a lot of work and you're providing a lot of support. You can't possibly be doing this in every single country around the world. So is this more of an offering where I don't necessarily pick the destination? I will enter a program in a country that you support. Is that how it works?
Right.
Okay. So what are the
Right.
countries
So
that you're, yeah. Go ahead.
No, it's a really good. I love this question because it's true. So, when we started, we kind of had 12 remote year cities. So, you talk about Mexico City, Medellin, Lima. As you travel across the world, we're in Thailand, we're in Bali, we're across Europe. In Valencia, in Spain, in Portugal. We started off with a kind of 12 cities. That was the original program over 12 months. As we came back from COVID and we started to, kind of operate our programs, we actually developed our product range and said, okay, well, people are going to be able to remote work. So now we cover 3 kind of broad product ranges. And I'll get to those cities, but they're retreats. So we're focused on this community of remote workers. Our retreats are highly focused around their needs from, kind of dealing with things like burnout and being able to take a real break if you're traveling remotely, all the way through to really focused retreats on sort of finding your purpose or a number of our signatures. And then we have the trips, which are the 1 months, and these are super accessible. A lot of companies are allowing these 1 month programs. And then what we call our journeys, which are 4 months, explore a region, Latin America, or Europe, Africa, the Far East, and a 12-month journey, which takes you for across the world, 12 cities across the world. And that's 1 month in every destination. So we used to do 12 cities. Now, next year, we're going to push into almost 30 cities across the world, largely driven by the 1 month is really taken off. A lot of people have got that experience and that time to be able to do it. So you'll see new cities joining our program, places like Tel Aviv, Morocco, as an example, will be permitted, COVID permitting, where we can operate safely. Entering Brazil, more countries in Latin America, and for 2022, we'll be starting our US road trips as well, which I'm really excited about because the domestic market in the US is fantastic, and people really do want to travel right now in the US. So I think we can really help that.
Wow, that's cool. So you can work remotely, travel, but without leaving the country. So if I wanted to go to Hawaii or Alaska, I could potentially do
New
that.
Orleans, Pacific Northwest. We're hoping to launch Provo in Utah. We're very excited about the prospect of the US. I think it's something that we haven't yet tackled. And I think the product team that are building out those itineraries, I think they're the most excited I've ever been about building a domestic program. So I'm really excited.
Is it a challenge to find? So you provide the accommodations as well. So yeah.
Right.
So how does that look? Is it a hostile situation? Not meaning meaning a hostile place where you stay, not hostile mean, but or is it a hotel? Is it a family that's hosting you? How does that work?
Right. No, so the core platform. So essentially, you're able to either stay with other people, 2 or 3 other people, or you can have your own place. So we pretty much take apartments on in these cities,
Okay.
and you get to be able to have a shared experience through house sharing, or you're going to be able to have your own place. Now, some of the locations that we have around the world, we do work with hotel partners where we think the kind of product is right for people. But more than anything, what we try to do is in the selection of accommodation is to kind of build a community around a smaller area. And that means that you'll feel like you're kind of immersing inside the local community, and you'll have different neighbors. You'll be able to walk to the co-working space. You'll be able to explore the neighborhood. And also with the kind of group that you're with, they're all going to be living in different places around that city. So it's for us, it's just as important to give that feeling that you're local, as much as it is to make sure you're provided with accommodation that you're going to enjoy and like, which sometimes can be challenging because accommodation standards across the world really vary. And
Mm-hmm.
that's something that we really help people understand before the journey is you might not expect your apartment in Kyoto to be similar to what you might have at home.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But that's really about the purpose of travel, right? To be able to enjoy and experience it as somebody that's a local.
Yeah. And do the prices fluctuate greatly between countries, or have you been able to kind of level that somehow?
Yeah, we work really hard on leveling. The real price sensitivity often becomes around seasonal periods where places are really in high demand. So we try to action that by picking the shoulders, if you like, of those kind of seasons. And if we're in season, that's the only time you'll really see us do a kind of price adjustment. But on the whole, we sort of manage pricing to be as simple as possible.
That's great. Okay, so who's who is your target audience? I mean, who are you really trying to reach with your message? Is it the 20 something? Is it a millennial? Is it what's the age group? What's the
Yeah,
range?
you know what? I'm gonna. This blows my mind when I think about it, and I love it for that. The community day, there's over 3,500 people in the remote year community that've done a program. And by the way, they get to stay inside that community, inside an environment that means they can stay connected, use each other for advice, etc. But the age range that we have today is from 21 to 77 is our oldest traveler. Our kind of core group, I would say, is around 28 to kind of 37. That seems to be around the core. But,
Uh-huh.
because the programs are really focused on diversity, that ultimately it doesn't really matter. It's kind of really about your sense of adventure and your desire to want to do it. And that kind of gives you a like-minded feeling of traveling with others. So, from the perspective of who's the target, it's really horrible to say all, but
Yeah.
actually, if you want to understand the core, it's probably around that age group.
Well, that's great. That's terrific. Do you think that you'll venture into some sort of a recruitment option where maybe you're helping these countries who want English speaking workers, um, eh, to find employment for potential clients and that?
It's a really interesting concept. I mean, my one of my roles here is to think about how we might be able to evolve in the future, and certainly that's something that we have given some thought to. I think today what we try to focus on is a self-serving community. So by joining us, you do get an entry into our community platform. And on there is a kind of job board, really, which is probably one of the most visited places. And it probably almost makes sense that if you really want to do this and looking for remote work, that we build a way for you to kind of enter the platform before you decide on where to travel, or when you can at least.
Uh-huh.
But I think what we want to focus on is making sure that those employers that do want remote workers, that they have a space to be able to advertise their roles to this community. And I think that's really evident for me by the amount of kind of page visits that part of the platform gets.
Yeah.
It's a great idea. There's a lot around that. We get asked that question all the time about how can we support that? And I think it's something that in 2022, as we start to really develop this community side of the platform, at least, that's something we'll give a lot of attention to.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like you have hit the market at a really, really good time. And even just anecdotally, my daughter was looking online for jobs, and she couldn't believe the amount of remote jobs. I mean, that was something that you never saw, 5
Yeah,
years ago, and now it's
yeah,
just proliferating.
yeah.
And it's hopefully it's a good thing. So, do you find that businesses are still as open as they were to letting employees work, elsewhere, even though, hopefully the pandemic is sort of quieting down a little bit? Or do you think that they're more keen on getting them back into the office?
I think, and it's a really good question. I think that employers today are really struggling with the concept. I think that some of them have been pretty brave to make some big statements and to say this is what they're going to do. But I think the reality of it is something different. And what I do think is that it's definitely here to stay. I think that the generations that are traveling or have the desire to travel are going to start being very selective around employers that offer their ability to remote work. And I think that where employers are today is that the key challenge, I guess, is around productivity, probably safety as well, and also the ability for them to be able to allow their employee to work, in another country, and that be working out for them from a tax and compliance perspective.
And insurance.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I think these things are ultimately going to find a path. And with everything, there's always the first movers to market that are really going. But I do think that as the future develops, it's going to be really important that this has some sort of policy within an organization. And I think that's what we probably need to focus on, is working with those early movers, and then also be able to help build content and information that enables employers to be able to set the program and be able to make something fun and supportive for their communities. And I know that's not easy, but we're here to help that for sure.
Okay. So if there was something that, a piece of advice or encouragement for somebody who's been thinking about this and wants to do it, what's your message to them? What's your advice? What should they be doing to prepare for something like this?
To the employer or the person that wants to join a program?
I would say the person that wants to join the program.
Oh wow, I love this question.
You love all my questions.
Yeah, I mean, look, if you're thinking about doing it and you're feeling as though you're a little bit worried about it, we designed this exactly for you. And if you want to give it a taste, join a 1-month program, because those programs are really the real taste of what it feels like to be somewhere for a month. And we're here to support those people all along that journey. And I think if you're looking for a capable pair of hands, I think this year we've had just over 800 people do it. Our NPS rating, which is kind of the standard of measuring, kind of effectiveness and happiness of the customer. The question is, would you recommend, this program to somebody else, is really high. We're above 70 on the NPS, which is really fantastic. And the real measure that I look for is, we always ask the question is, did this help you grow in some way? Did it help you transform or think differently? And that score is 92% of people that are doing it. So my message is, if you're thinking about it, stop thinking about it. Get online, have a look, and join a program. And I promise you that we'll take care of you, and you'll have the best time and the best month. And if you're really brave or going through some sort of transformation and you feel as though this is for you to do something a bit more longer term, then join a journey. And at the other end of it, you'll have had a crazy experience, but you'll also have made friends for life. And I think that's what makes me feel really proud of what we do, is this transformative and focus on building connections with each other offline. Then do it, have fun.
I love it. All right. So if folks want to learn a little bit more about Remote Year, and it doesn't have to be a year, as you said, where do they find you guys?
So there's 2 places. Come to the website, which is www.remoteyear.com. And I always encourage people to read the reviews as well on Trustpilot. They feel like they come from an amazing place. And I think that, when you read that, you'll really get an idea of what the program looks like. But yeah, join us on there, or you can join us on our Instagram page of Remote Year, where you'll see lots of activity going on the programs today.
Terrific. Shaun Prime, a pleasure. And I wish you and your family a very happy holiday.
Thank you so much. And to all of your listeners too. Thank you.
Thank you.